In her groundbreaking new book, The Hunger Fix, nationally renowned nutrition and fitness expert Dr. Pamela Peeke reveals how you can stop caving into your food cravings to become happier and healthier. Dr. Peeke is with Newsmax Health today to discuss her science-based food addiction solution. And Dr. Peeke, thanks so much for being with us.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to talking to you.
Well, you write in your book that we can rewire the brain's reward system to control overeating and food obsessions. How is this possible?
It's possible because when I wrote The Hunger Fix, I had to wait for just the perfect amount of science, incredible science from the National Institutes of Health, to be able to understand what happened in the reward system in the brain. It got hijacked. And it got hijacked by what we call the hyperpalatables, sugary, starchy, fatty, salty food combinations. And what they do is they literally take over the reward system, and this is precisely what happens in any addiction, regardless of the substance. And what ends up happening is you have organic changes that happen in the reward system. Those organic changes then are what really lead us into the vicious cycle of addiction.
So how do you go about fixing it?
You need to detox. You gotta detox first. And what you do is you identify your crack. I always, you know the foods that after you have a serving, you feel like you're out of control. You're off and running on overeating and binging, and we all know which ones those are.
Right.
So you've got to ditch them. And then you've got to now turn your attention to whole foods that are tasty, delicious, rewarding, and palatable. What we do in my book, The Hunger Fix, is we give you those recipes as well as the food plans so that during just about anywhere between 3 and 6 weeks of detox, you can eventually just get over that. Now, you'll always feel the compulsion to want to overeat those hyperpalatables. However, what you're going to do now is you're allowing that brain up there to get more powerful to say no. And you know how you're doing it? Not just by eating appropriately, but by also doing two things cutting-edge science shows that will actually increase the size of that part of the brain and allow you to be much more strong. First one is meditation. Who knew? Especially transcendental and mindfulness. The second thing is actually physical activity. Physical activity allows you to do precisely the same thing. The more you're active, the more you grow more brain. You literally grow more brain cells. You get stronger and stronger so that now you can take on those hyperpalatables because, let's face it, look around you. There's cues to eat 24/7. And I'll tell you one thing, they're not asking you to eat tuna on a bed of greens either. They're asking you to eat those kinds of combinations.
Now, Costa, the finalist on TV's The Biggest Loser, wrote the foreword of your book after she lost an amazing 155 pounds. Can you share with us her story?
Yeah, Costa is now, what is she? She's 27, 28 years old. And she went through an amazing transformation on The Biggest Loser. But she is a self-avowed food addict. And in the foreword of my book, where she wrote her story, it's pretty straightforward. She takes every single day 24 hours at a time. She went from 5'9" and about 330 pounds down to what she is today. And that's a huge, huge change. And she also became a triathlete at the same time. But she's also very real and authentic. She knows that you, because of the addiction, have to take it 24 hours a day at a time. You can't look 5 years ahead. You chop up the day into hours, and then you start seeing when those more vulnerable hours are. She's really, really good at this. And right now, truth be told, she practices this every day. In my 3 stages, detox, beginner recovery, and master recovery, Costa is a master at recovery right now.
Now, you write that many food addicts don't know that they have a problem. What are the signs of food addiction?
Well, if you go to my website, at Dr. Peeke, drpeeke.com, you can take a very simple quiz. This quiz has been validated by science. And the simple, straightforward elements include, number one, if you obsess about that food, if you're really using almost drug vernacular to describe it, I need a hit, got to score some, can't get off the stuff, listen to yourself. If you find that you can't have just one serving, but you're off on a bender, if you're sneaking around, if you're avoiding social interaction because food's around, all of these are major indications, as they are in so many addictions, that you have a problem. Now, I'm also going to tell you that there's a wide spectrum of problems. Some people are much more severe than others. Others are mild. You have people who are size 2s. You have people who are size 32s who have this issue. It's anybody, men and women, children and teenagers, of any size and any age. That's why this whole issue is so terribly important to take seriously today, because it's really contributing to not just dysfunctional and tormented eating, but it's also definitely contributing to overweight and obesity in America.
Dr. Peeke, last question for you. Tell us about those foods that you call false fixes and those that are healthy fixes.
The false fixes, as I mentioned before, are usually combinations of the sugary, starchy, fatty, salty foods. They could be almost anything. It could be bread and butter. There are some of my patients who can't make it through, one piece of bread. They'll just do the whole loaf. It could be almost anything, but usually it's the refined processed foods. The stuff that comes in the big bags, and when you read that label, it looks like jet fuel. Those are science fair projects, and they're hijacking your brain. Healthy fixes are basically those foods that are whole foods, and we have special combinations that build up the pleasure and reward brain chemical called dopamine in your brain, so you get a natural high from natural foods. And also, to curb your carb cravings, protein and fiber combinations do it every single time, and we have absolutely delicious ones for you to try. And I'm guaranteeing you that in my book, The Hunger Fix, you'll find the solution to your food and addiction issue and your overeating.
All right, and Dr. Peeke, can we get that website from you one last time?
My website is drpeeke, drpeeke.com.
All right, again, the book is called The Hunger Fix. Dr. Pamela Peeke, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching Newsmax Health.